Hey men, today we're going to talk about how to reconcile your marriage when your wife or your long-term relationship lover has completely given up, and in some cases, maybe you have too. Let's get started. You just got to be coachable. Guys, if you're new to my channel or you've been watching the videos for a while and you haven't already done so, please tell the algorithm that what we're doing here is good, that you want to save your marriage, you support marriage restoration. Subscribe to the channel, and most importantly for you, hit that bell icon so that you're notified when I put out new content so the algorithm doesn't suppress it. Subscribe today and press the bell notification. Hello, I'm Griffin, and I help men restore their relationship with their wife or their long-term relationship lover when she's done, when she has no interest in working on the relationship, she wants separation, or is pursuing divorce. This is when you should not give up on your marriage or your long-term relationships if any of the following exist. Number one, if your wife has left you, filed for divorce or separation, you should not give up on the relationship because you don't see how there's a way to restore it. Don't give up. Number two, if she's living with a limerent affair partner or her boyfriend, don't give up on the marriage. We can actually use this to restore it. Number three, if your paper divorce is pending, it's coming up really soon, or if your paper divorce is finalized, it doesn't mean that you can't restore the relationship. In fact, we can actually capitalize on this to restore the relationship even faster. Just because a paper divorce is pending or it's about to happen or it's already happened, there's two types of divorce. It doesn't mean you can't be reconciled. A paper divorce is one type of divorce and it's just a piece of paper. But an emotional divorce is something drastically different. And if you haven't been divorced for more than 2 years, the odds of you actually having an emotional divorce are very slim. There's no reason to give up. You can usually reconcile, even though there's a pending or completed paper divorce. Let me ask you some questions. Put this in the comments if you're currently depressed, maybe even having thoughts of suicide. You're at an all-time low. In the past several weeks, maybe even the past few months, your weight has fluctuated drastically. You become a couch potato. You've ran to Jesus. She's ran from Jesus. You feel hopeless. Everywhere you go, you feel the need to talk about the divorce or the marriage or the relationship failing, and you can't shut up about it. Maybe you're engaging your children in the status of your relationship. You want them to know what's going on. Sometimes you're maybe even using those children in an effort to restore the relationship. Or maybe you're using the children as an opportunity to get in front of your long-term relationship lover or your wife. If you're doing any of these things, you're probably doing all of those things the wrong way. In this video, I'm going to teach you some of the things that you should stop doing immediately and some things that you can start doing as well. All of these things that I just listed are the things that almost all men do when they're facing the end or separation of a long-term relationship or their marriage. If any of those things above apply to you, put this in the comments. But what it's also telling me is this. It means that more than likely your lover or your wife has confirmation bias. You can look at some of my other videos where I explain in detail what exactly confirmation bias, but what it is in short, it's whenever she's biased against the relationship or biased against you personally and or both. You can do everything right. You can walk on water for 2, 3, 4 weeks, and then something happens. A lot of times you don't even know what it is. And you don't just go back to where you started. You go back further. It's not starting over. Things get worse. You're advancing towards divorce. The following are the mistakes that almost all men make. Number one, most men, whenever they're facing an unwanted divorce or separation, when the wife or the lover has enrolled you into her leadership of where she's going, what she's seeing for the relationship, most men actually believe this. They believe it's too little too late, she's filed for a divorce, or you found out she's talking to another man, you found out she's having an affair partner, and you give up on the relationship. What I see a lot of men do is they enroll in counseling and find somebody to help them deal with the grief. They start going to their pastor or support group for men. What I see a lot of times is men, they'll actually join these Facebook groups. They're called standing groups where everybody's supposedly standing for their marriage, but they're all getting divorced. It's not working because it's just a bunch of losers helping losers lose, but feel good about it. And I don't mean that with a negative connotation like, look at those losers. I mean that they're all losing the relationship. None of the relationships are being restored in those groups. It's other men that's aligning their actions with their feelings because nobody's actually teaching them how to align their actions with their goals. That's what I teach in the program called DivorceStoppers with Griffin. So if this is you and you're on YouTube and you're looking how to move past my lover, if maybe you're even watching some preachers on TV like I did the first go around, which is one of the reasons that my first marriage ended in a divorce, was because I watched a video talking about let her go. If she leaves you, don't give her the time of day. Don't beg her. Don't plead with her. Let her go. Let her go. Let her go. I listened to a sermon that said that over and over and over. And it encouraged me to let go of the relationship. It helped me let go of the relationship. And I'll tell you something, some of the advice about don't chase her and all these other things, don't beat the door down trying to get her back. There was wisdom in some of that, but letting her go was the stupidest freaking thing that you can do. It's bad advice. It's bad wisdom. And here's what's going to happen if you follow that BS advice. You're going to end up in another relationship, in a new marriage, a year or 2 years down the road, and you're going to find yourself in the same shit show that you're in now. It is not in your best interest to let her go. It is not in the business to don't look back. It is in the best interest to take the action steps necessary to restore the relationship with your wife or your long-term relationship. If you get to the point where she actually wants to come back into the relationship, at that point, if you realize she's just a bad person, which 99% of the time is not the case, she might be a very, very good person that's currently doing some very, very bad things, but it does not mean that she's a bad person. Letting her go is foolish advice because you can do some things to restore this marriage or the long-term relationship so you don't recreate the same scenario with another woman and finding yourself in divorce number 2 or divorce number 3. That is stupid advice, and the people that are teaching that is out of ignorance because they don't know another way. And by the way, if you're listening to sermons that are telling you that, it's the opposite of what the Bible says. It's bullshit. Well, Diver, how do you know that it's bullshit? I looked at a survey from 2016. In this survey, 94% of women that had divorced their husband re-entered a new marriage, and they were 22 to 26 months into that new marriage. 94% of the women in this confidential survey said that they regretted divorcing their ex-husband. Now, here's something that's even more interesting. 73% of those women that were in a new marriage after they divorced their husband, 73% of those women said that not only did they make a mistake, but they actually regretted it and they wish they were still in their first marriage. That's how I know that that's bullshit. Here's something else that men do when they're in your shoes. They go on YouTube and watch all of these different videos with all of the different people or the coaches or the counselors that are teaching reconciliation tactics. And guess what? There's nothing wrong with that. I want you to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon so that you get every one of these videos because they can actually be life-changing for you. They should resonate with you. But this is what I can tell you. If your wife actually has full-blown confirmation bias, even watching all of my videos will not be enough to restore the relationship because YouTube is information. It's not going to bring about transformation. And when a wife has confirmation bias, it's her thought patterns of psychological negative thought patterns about you and or the relationship that enough time has passed that the psychology, meaning her thoughts have ran on neural pathways long enough that they have become biological, meaning that we can literally see them on a brain scan. And whenever that's happened, the information that you're getting here on YouTube is not going to be enough to restore the marriage. You don't have time if she has confirmation bias. It's running out. You need transformation, and you're not going to get transformation by watching YouTube. You don't have as much time as what you think, and I know this from personal experience. The next thing that men do when they think they have more time than what they actually do have is the following. When you think you have more time, you're walking in a state of delusion more often than not. And so what I mean by this is looking back on the first marriage that I had that failed, I think I was subconsciously under the delusion that I was going to be driving down the motorway, the freeway, the expressway, whatever country you're in, the Autobahn. And I thought I was because I was praying and I was begging God to restore my marriage. And I really do believe that there's something to be said for prayer, but also faith without works is dead. I didn't really know how to work that faith, so I was just having the prayer. And I was under this delusion, which was false, which ultimately led to a divorce, that I would be driving down the freeway, the highway, and that one day my car would hit a magical unicorn. The unicorn was somehow going to absorb into the radiator of my car, and magically I would wake up the next day and I wasn't facing an unwanted divorce or separation. Let me burst your bubble here, men. And I wish somebody would have told me this so I didn't make the mistakes that I'm now teaching you not to make. When your clock is ticking, it's ticking fast. Time is only on your side if you put it there. YouTube, when confirmation bias exists, is not going to be enough to save the marriage. You don't have the time that you think, and no magical unicorn is going to cause you to wake up the next morning after you run it over, and magically your lover is laying beside you in the bed and it was all just a bad nightmare. You've got to let go of that delusion because it's not going to happen unless you do something drastic. Another mistake that men often make is to go ask your pastor for advice, your church, your priest. Go ask your friends or your family members for advice. Here's why you should not do that. Unless they have specifically been in your unique situation and navigated the waters out of that, don't go ask these people for advice concerning the church. Before you were in your situation, did you ever hear a sermon on your specific situation? No, you might have heard some sermons on marriage, but you never heard a sermon on what to do when your lover or your wife doesn't want the relationship or the marriage, and you do. You've never heard that taught because they're not qualified to teach it. So don't go there. If your friends or your family members have not been in a situation where they personally have faced an unwanted divorce or separation and figured out how to save their marriage, don't ask them for advice. They're not qualified to give you the advice. They don't know what works. So why am I saying don't ask your friends or family? Same thing. Your friends or your family, if they see that you're hurting, they love you. And in their eyes, the fastest way to get out of the pain is simply give up on the relationship and move on. Guess what? Statistically, if you enter a new relationship, you're going to face that pain in the new relationship. The odds of success of a second or third or fourth marriage plummet. So all you're doing is trading this misery for the new misery that's in your future. Don't listen to this stupid advice that your friends or your family, or a lot of times your preacher is going to give you because it's foolish. They're giving you this because they're aligning their actions, their advice with their feelings instead of the goals that you have to have the best life ever. Don't listen to this stupid advice. Number 4, this is the biggest mistake that men make. In the DivorceStoppers program, 41% of my clients today come from other programs. There's one thing in common that all of these programs have in common, that these men are coming into my program because those programs did not give them the result that they wanted. But I will tell you, it's very unusual for them to actually badmouth those other programs. Why is that? If they come into those other programs to restore their marriage, why are they not bad-mouthing those programs that they joined to restore their marriage when in fact it made zero progress and almost always made it worse? Why are they not bad-mouthing those programs? Here's why. Most of the men that we meet that have not been in another program, they're in a state of depression, feeling hopeless. Maybe their weight is fluctuated. Maybe they've dropped 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 pounds. They're in depression. They feel hopeless. A lot of times in tears on these calls, just like I was when I was in this situation. I remember what it was like to be in that situation. I remember what it was like to wake up in my bed every day for months and months and months. And on the occasion when I forgot that I was separated or facing divorce, and then after I brushed my teeth, it hit me like a ton of bricks. I remember after going through stage 4 throat cancer, that was easier going through that nightmare in my life than what it was facing a divorce or a long-term relationship ending. I remember what that was like. So it makes sense to me that when you join those other programs out there that are telling you, hey, the way we're going to restore your marriage is to become the best version of yourself. Let's get you, back in the gym. Let's get you out there, getting strong, getting emotional support, having a support group of men that's going to kick your ass and get you in gear. And there is something absolutely to be said for that. That's 15% of what I teach in the DivorceStoppers program. But guess what? I don't teach it until the end of the program. Why? I too can snap you out of depression by helping you become the best version of yourself, to figure out what your calling is and to get right with Jesus and all these different things. And that's beautiful. It will make you feel better, but more likely than not, it will actually decrease the likelihood that your marriage or your relationship is going to be restored. Why? If your wife or your lover has confirmation bias, if she doesn't change herself, the relationship is not going to be restored. So the mistake that most men make is they'll get out there and try to become the best version of themselves. And what happens is no woman leaves her husband typically unless she's miserable herself. She's not walking in her calling. She's not becoming the best version of herself. She's actually unhappy. And then you become unhappy about her unhappiness. You go to her to try to fix it. She senses that you're unhappy. Now, instead of her taking the initiative to change because she wants to make you happy, what that does is it puts pressure on her because she feels responsible for your unhappiness. Now she's responsible for her unhappiness, and sometimes she'll reach out to a friend or a colleague or maybe even a counselor, and the counselor will convince her that, wow, your unhappiness is not because you need to become the best version of yourself. The women programs that are out there, What the women programs that I'm experiencing or that my clients are telling about is the women programs are not teaching the wife to become the best version of herself. They're teaching her that, oh, wow, your unhappiness, is stemming from the relationship. So let me enable you to never go back to that asshole. You're not really an asshole. Maybe you walked in that for just a minute, but what really happened here is she's unhappy and she's found somebody to tell her, wow, he's responsible for your unhappiness, which is the furthest thing from the freaking truth. And this counselor is enabling her to ruin her life. The Bible says that a foolish woman tears her own house down with her very own hands because they're getting that kind of advice and it's 100% ridiculous and foolish. How do I know that? The statistic I gave you earlier about women that enter a second marriage that really say they regret that because they realize that they made a mistake. Not until 2 years has passed do they realize that. So if you're currently in a program and you're being taught, man, you do you, bro. You become the best version of you. Get in the gym, get your life back, get your shit together. Let me ask you this. Put in the comments if you're a man that's in one of those programs, put this in the comments. Is she now telling you, well, you're going to make a really good man for a new woman? And maybe even you sense that she started to resent you because here's the stages of you becoming the best version of yourself before you actually take the action steps to bring her back into the marriage, to make her feel heard, to make her feel seen, to build mutual admiration. If you don't do those things before you become the best version of yourself, here's the first thing that's going to happen. She will start resenting you. She will start telling you, you're going to make a really great man for the next one. You're going to make a really good husband for the next wife. You're going to make a really good boyfriend for the next woman. She will start resenting you. The resentment will slowly evolve into literal hate. There's a way to turn this around. Don't let it get to that place. If you're already in another program and the goal is not to restore the marriage, but to become the best version of you, and you're being taught that that's actually going to restore the marriage, I'm here to tell you it's going to make it worse and it's going to advance toward permanent dissolution and an emotional divorce. Stop listening to that. You can clearly see that it's not working. Do something different before it's too late. Put in the comments if this is you. If you're in some kind of leadership program that you've joined trying to save your marriage, and it's made you feel good about yourself, you've stopped losing weight, you're no longer depressed, you're not in a funk, but your marriage or your relationship is still not being restored. If you're in a program like that or you're following somebody on YouTube that has taught you that horse shit, put that in the comments if that's you. The fifth mistake that the majority of men make. But before we go there, I want to tell you that we have a free masterclass if you're finding that any of the things I'm talking about are specifically unique to you. You can register for that masterclass today at denvergriffin.com. I will tell you that we have limited seats available right now for that masterclass, so I suggest that you register early. But going back to the fifth thing that you can do, the fifth thing that the majority of men do that's wrong is they seek advice from a counselor, a coach, or even a marriage restoration company whose product or their sole purpose is marriage restoration for couples. If you're getting advice from somebody that their primary business is to help husband and wife, boyfriend and girlfriend restore their marriage or their long-term relationship, and that primary business model is that they help couples that are willing to come in for sessions, go on a retreat, go through their program. If that's their primary business model, they're more than likely not qualified to help you restore your relationship or your marriage when she doesn't want to. In the DivorceStoppers program, that's exactly what we do. My expertise and the program is designed to help men restore their marriage or their long-term relationships, specifically when she doesn't want to. That is our primary business model. It is not our afterthought program, and we're very, very successful at it. If any of the things that I just talked about in this video are describing your specific situation, I want to direct you to a place where you can have hope. In the next video that I'm putting right here, you can watch this video and listen to how one of my clients who was in this exact situation, he was separated from his wife, they were doing nesting, a divorce had been filed, and it was heading there fast and furious. Watch this video. It will encourage you. It will give you some hope. And also, it might encourage you to register for that free masterclass before all of the spots are taken at denvergriffin.com and start the process of restoring your long-term relationship or your marriage today.